Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my disabled mother because she plays favorites with my sibling? My mother suffers from a disability and as such is permanently bedridden. I'm the only person who lives with her in the family house. She has support workers who come by throughout the day to help with hygiene and showering. However, I help with absolutely everything else. Cooking, paying bills, errands, organizing home maintenance, checking emails, making her comfortable in bed, shopping, managing investments, etc. I do not get paid by the government to be her carer, nor does she pay me, or in any other real way even show her appreciation. She feels entitled to my help, and it's really a thankless job. As part of managing her finances, I logged into her online banking to notice almost $100,000 was missing from her savings account. And further inspection, the money was sent to my sister. So I asked my sister about it, and she told me our mother gifted it to her to buy a highly spec'd Tesla. I was livid by this. Mother has always treated sister as the favorite. Apart from this gift, she has probably given her over $100,000 in other things over the past few years, which I never got. For example, I had to pay for my first car, whereas she got a brand new one paid for. When I moved to college, I had to pay for it myself, whereas my mother, who is wealthy, paid for her to have a premium unit. I burst into my mother's room, going on about how I'm sick of the favoritism, how unfair it is because children should be treated equally, and how she has never known appreciation for the sacrifices I made to be her de facto carer. For example, I can't leave the house overnight, which rules out all holidays, for example. And it's been like this for 5 years since my father died. Initially, I asked if she had any intention of giving me $100,000 to make up for it, and she said no. During our 30-minute argument, she never directly answered how it was fair, instead asking questions like, "Do you feel like you've missed out?" among other questions. It reached boiling point and she ultimately said, "It's my money and I'll spend it on whatever I want." I said, "Fine, I won't be helping you at all anymore." I have now ignored all of my mother's texts for help over the past 2 weeks. I've heard from my sister she's now looking at full-time residential care due to my lack of assistance, which people in my country do as a very last resort as the residents are neglected, fed poorly, and there's no sense of it being your home. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Let your sister step up for once. Tell mommy dearest that her golden child can care for her, because you sure as heck won't be. This is what I came to say. Let the golden child have her. She can drive over in her shiny new car. Right, I love how as soon as she stopped doing everything, the favorite one was like, put her in a crappy senior home. Stat. That's the one the mom chose. Not the a-hole. I think you should have just left without the big blowout. However, if she's intent on playing favorites to this degree, she has no one to blame but herself. She can spend her money how she likes, and you can live your life how you want. Take this opportunity and do that. Not the a-hole. I think you should have just left without the big blowout. I took the blowout from mom to finally admit there was no mistake, and Opie is seen as less than her sister. It was valuable. There's no longer any ambiguity. Opie doesn't have to worry there was some kind of misunderstanding on mom's part, or some kind of manipulation on sister's part. Both mom and sister are totally fine with Opie carrying all the burden without any of the thanks. She's right. It's her money and she can do what she wants with it. But it's your life, and that means you can do what you want with that. And you are in no way obligated to spend that life catering to the whim of a woman who treats you like her personal slave. Let your sister sort this one. See how long the sister sticks around when she realizes all your mom's money is being spent on carers rather than your sister. No, she can't. You can't rack up huge bills and force one daughter to do all the labor and then gift the other daughter huge amounts of money. Opie's owed money for all the unpaid labor. If the mom didn't have the money and this was done out of love, sure, but mom has the money and is refusing to pay her caretaker. Next story. Am I the a-hole for removing all of my fiancé's certificates from the wall after he took down my daughter's dog picture? Me, female 34, and my fiancé, male 36, got engaged 2 months ago. I own the house we currently live in, but after he moved in, he started helping out with the mortgage payment. I have a daughter, Ruby, female 12. She adores animals. She had about 7 pets so far in her life. Unfortunately, her dog Tick passed away. He was her closest friend and favorite pet. It was devastating for me as well because he was so precious. As a way to honor him, I've printed a middle-sized picture of him, Ruby's favorite, and put it in a frame and hanged the frame in the living room wall. Ruby was so happy with it, especially since she gets to see him smiling at her when she walks in. It gives her comfort. My fiancé saw it and got upset. He commented on how strange it was to have the dog's picture up on the wall and how much distraction it brings. I felt puzzled because we have all kinds of pictures that were hanging on that wall. He suggested we remove it, but I ignored him. One day, I got home and saw that he's taken it down. Ruby was in her room crying holding the picture. I asked what happened, and she told me that my fiancé took the picture off and told her she's not allowed to have it hung up there. I also told her to keep it in her room if she didn't want to lose it for good. I was shocked. I rushed out and immediately started taking down all the certificates he had on that wall. His doctorate, master's, and bachelor's degrees, and about 4 to 5 other certificates as well. All of them I took down and put it in the bedroom. He discovered what I did and snapped at me and said that it's his house as well and I should respect his input. In my defense, I told him that since my daughter has to keep it in her room, then he too has to keep his certificates in his room according to his logic. He yelled at me demanding that I stop nagging him and acting childishly and spitefully. He wanted to put them back up, but I refused and said that if he does that, then Tick's picture will be put back up as well. He yelled about how I disrespected him at his achievements and treated them as trash and then stormed out. He's been giving both me and Ruby the cold shoulder for days now, saying he won't speak to either of us till we apologize and put those certificates back up on the wall ourselves. Not day home. He doesn't want equal say. He wants a dictatorship. It's clear that he will continue to hurt your daughter behind your back. I will reevaluate my relationship. He told me it's his house too now, so he should be able to have a say in it. I find this illogical because he's only paid 2 months' worth of mortgage, unlike me who put all my savings and sold important items to be able to get this house. He is trying to take over what you have achieved. You need to think hard about what life will look like for you and your daughter going forward is. This is only 2 months in. What is her emotional well-being worth to you? This is so important. It's not just a relationship now. Opie's daughter will remember forever how her mom handles this man. Plus, if Opie dies, do you think this man will take care of your child? Or will he just sell your house, keep the money, and cart your kid off somewhere? I knew someone who had 3 children, owned her own home. 2 kids to 1 man and 1 from previous relationship. She married a father of 2 and he was distant and cold to the non-bio child. However, he wasn't as bad outwardly to the non-bio child as your fiancé was to your child. Not until the mom died unexpectedly at 42, and he told the 15-year-old non-bio kid that he had a month to get out. He moved a new woman into the house and raised his bio children there, and the 15-year-old wasn't allowed to see his siblings. Lost his mom, siblings, and home all in the same month. He lived with a maternal aunt on her sofa for a few years as she had no space for him. Not stay home. He took a picture of your grieving child's dog, threatened her, told you that your house is also his, yelled at you, and demanded an apology. If you marry this abusive man, you and your daughter are going to have a miserable life. Exactly. He's shown her who he is. It's time she makes a decision and drops this miserable man out of her life. Opie, please hear this. There will be many days where you come home and find your daughter crying. Please don't put her or yourself through that. Also, please know your daughter will grow up. And remember that this man mattered more to you than she did, unless you show her that's not true. Sticking around in this scenario may also have an unintended impact on her future relationships. Do you really want her to land in a relationship like the one you have with your fiancé? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for choosing to not get involved when my daughter threw away my wife's shampoo collection? I, 39, got married to my wife, Nellie, 36, months ago. I have to say that Nellie and my daughter, her stepdaughter, Megan, 16, never gotten along. They have lots of disagreements, had nothing in common, and it was obvious since the first day they met. But I didn't do anything about it, thinking they'd move past their differences and warm up to each other the longer they spent time together. I was wrong, because once we moved in together, the fights got worse. Nellie would complain from Megan throwing away stuff of hers just because she thought it didn't belong there. It's been basically a mouse and cat game, and I've lost track on who's right and who's wrong. I did try to establish some boundaries to try to bring back peace to my home, and had them agree that each stays in their own lane and not bother each other. Nellie said that I was wrong to think that what Megan is doing is okay, but I told her to let it slide. Nellie has a special type of hair care products for her sensitive hair. Shampoo, conditioner, etc., etc. She put them in the bathroom, but Megan ended up throwing them away, saying that Nellie had no right to store her products in the bathroom because it's not her house. To keep the peace, I asked Nellie to just keep her stuff in the bedroom and take it with her whenever she wants to take a shower, to which she agreed. Last night, Nellie took a shower and forgot her hair products in the bathroom. Megan ended up going in there and then the shampoo collection was gone. Nellie freaked out and then had a fight after Megan told her she dumped them out, saying she already warned her about leaving her stuff laying around in the bathroom. Nellie broke down, and when I said I choose to stay out of this because of how petty it was, she blew up at me. She yelled about how I keep letting Megan get away with bad attitude and unjustified misbehavior. Told me to stop enabling her and start setting consequences for her actions. I told her she should have been more careful knowing how Megan is, so I feel like this was preventable. But she said that she forgot her stuff there. I didn't think Megan would go that far. We had an argument, and that was it. Megan is acting nonchalant despite me talking to her, and Nellie went to stay with her parents saying I need to step up and do something. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole here, absolutely. She's your child. You should be acting like a parent. Why would you act like they should work it out when it's literally your house and your child? God, I hope she leaves him. You're the a-hole. Seriously, can you imagine having a partner like this? Not only does Opie have zero control over his awfully entitled bully of a daughter, but he refuses to even acknowledge that there's any sort of problem with her treatment of his wife. Opie is so the a-hole, it's unreal. Stuff like this is how some people get anxiety disorders. You're the a-hole. You need to grow some balls and step up. Your daughter is literally tormenting your wife and you're allowing it to happen. Your wife lives there. She should be allowed to keep her stuff in the bathroom. It isn't a hostel. It's her house. Fix this. You are in the wrong. Man up and fix this. A hostel is a good comparison. I immediately thought of college dorm days and having to carry stuff back and forth in a little bucket. Lol. You're the a-hole. Prepare to be a divorcee. Yep. Opie is definitely the a-hole. Just wow. You are enabling and allowing your child to dominate the situation, act out, and get away with bad behavior. You're not just staying out of it. You're running away from your actual responsibilities. You're the a-hole, big time. And also, grow a pair and deal with the situation in an appropriate manner. Bad behavior should have appropriate consequences. Edited to add, you told your wife she should take her products out of the bathroom and keep it in her room? Like, what? Is this a public restroom? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother and sister-in-law it's good they can't have children? I'm 37 male, my wife is 38 female. We have 2 kids, aged 17 and 4. Neither were planned, but we are happy we have them both. Our 17-year-old has cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair. He can dress himself, he talks. A bit hard to understand at first, but you can understand him fine if you put a little effort into it. He does great in school and is a great kid. My brother and his wife can't have kids. They have been through a lot of IVF and other treatments, but it hasn't been successful. I know they are both devastated about it, especially my sister-in-law. We were all at my mother's house for dinner the other night, and brother and sister-in-law were telling us about their last unsuccessful round of IVF and said that this might be it, and they probably won't try again. We all said we are sorry about that and that it must be awful. Later that evening, my mom was asking my 17-year-old about his plans for the future, etc. How is school going? Does he have a girlfriend? Does he like any girls, etc.? Typical grandma stuff, lol. My sister-in-law then said, "Can he even date?" to me. My son didn't hear it, and I looked at her and just said, "What?" She then said, "Well, he'll be on your care forever. Do you really want him to bring a woman into that?" I asked her to stop, but my brother said she's just asking a question. At that point, everyone heard us talking. Sister-in-law then said to me and my wife, "I didn't mean to offend you. It's just that a slow child might be too much work on their own, without dating and stuff." I loudly replied, "Our son is not slow, and you are way out of line here." She then said to me, "Relax, please. Jeez, I thought you had more patience since you were raising a retarded child." I lost it and said, "You know what? It's a good thing you can't have children, because you would have been a terrible mother." She broke down crying. My brother called me an a-hole. The headline had me at first, but nope. Not an a-hole. You clearly wasn't in the wrong at all. Harsh? Absolutely. But wrong? Nope. Yeah, I was on the fence until she dropped the R-bomb. Same. I could kind of excuse her initial question about dating, but to then start throwing insults? No. Not an a-hole. She hasn't even done any real research into cerebral palsy and thinks it's okay to just spout off things she doesn't understand. Maybe what you said was harsh in the moment, but she was being cruel and ableist in front of your child. I hate when people talk like the person they're talking about isn't there. I'd love to see the look on Opie's sister-in-law if she heard that my stepdad has cerebral palsy. Not only did he date, he raised me and is a computer programmer who used to work at Intel. Opie absolutely not the a-hole. If that's how she views your child, then she lacks the compassion and patience to be a parent. One of the managers at my old workplace has cerebral palsy. The only impairment he has compared to others is that he uses a wheelchair. Opie's sister-in-law is a massive a-hole. Imagine one of your nieces or nephews being disabled and doing literally no research into it.
Am I the a-hole for calling my father-in-law a bastard after he pressured us into getting a paternity test? In my husband's family, you inherit from your grandparents. My husband's father got into his head that our son was the product of me having an affair. He said that he would not set aside money for him unless we got a paternity test. My husband told his father to go screw himself and we cut him off. It has been a couple of years now and he wants back into our lives, but he still wanted a paternity test. My husband and I talked about it, and we agreed under the condition that when it turned out that my husband was the father, the money for our son would be in an irrevocable trust for his future, even though obviously his grandfather has not passed away. He agreed, and we did a test sort of like 23andMe, but more reputable and private. It just so happens that my son is indeed my husband's child, but he is not related to a bunch of his paternal relatives. My husband's mom is a saint, and she divorced her jackass ex a long time ago. Father-in-law immediately started crapping on her for cheating, since obviously the tests show that my husband was illegitimate. 2 tests later, and the results are back and my father-in-law is definitely my husband's father. My father-in-law, however, is not the offspring of the man he always thought was his dad. We had a legally binding contract, so my son has inheritance waiting for him when he turns 25. We saw my father-in-law over the holidays, and he was complaining about how he had to liquefy some of his assets to set up the trust fund. I said that if he had just accepted his grandson and hadn't been such a bastard about it, then we would all have been happier. He got very quiet and very angry. He said I was being very rude to insult him like that. I said that he had been rude to insinuate that I was cheating on my husband, and that technically he was indeed a bastard. He is furious with me, and mad at my husband for letting me talk about him that way. My husband told him that he brought this all on himself, and that if he wants to be in our lives, he will treat us all with respect. He followed up that since we have the money now, there is nothing he can hold over us if we choose to kick him back out. We are hearing a lot from relatives of my husband. Some good, some bad. Overall, they think I need to be more polite, but they agree he did this to himself. Now for the top comments. And that technically he was indeed a bastard. LMAO. Sheesh, what a story. Let us know if he finds out who his bio dad was. Not the a-hole. Plot twist? It was to help. Screw their polite. He wasn't polite when he basically called you a loose woman. Now that your son's trust is set up, you should give him as much respect as he has given you. And go no contact, because he's a grade A jackass. So he barges into your lives demanding a paternity test, accuses you of cheating, but you need to be more polite? I think the heck not. You're not the a-hole, and your father-in-law needs an attitude adjustment. Not sure why I'd want to continue tolerating somebody like that in your lives, but congrats on a free trust fund. Yep. I'm sick of this mentality where people are supposed to be polite to the person who have utterly trashed and disrespected them. That's complete and utter BS, and anyone who dared to suggest that to me would get a solid telling off. Be the better/bigger person equals get back on the floor, doormat. As long as the abusive person has a preferred target, nobody else has to deal with the mess. Opie and her dear husband aren't playing doormat. Good for them. Father-in-law wanted to play stupid games and won a stupid prize. Turns out, he is the illegitimate one in the family. I find that hilarious. Not the a-hole. All parties agreed to the terms. Don't dish out if you can't take it. Father-in-law is lucky you let him back into your lives. So as long as everyone is respectful, then there should be no further issues. Mean words? Yes. Warranted? Absolutely. Next story. My ex left me the majority of his estate amounting to $700,000, and his parents demand that I leave it to his wife and child. My ex and I were together for almost 20 years. We never got married because it never felt necessary and we were child-free. I had problems with birth control, so he chose vasectomy. I found out that he cheated on me 3 years ago and I left him. He got with his affair partner. 6 months later, I heard that they were married. I found out that I was pregnant with my current boyfriend a year into dating, and even though we still weren't there in the relationship, we thought that we could make it happen. And sure enough, we are very happy, and we love our little family very much. My ex kept texting me on occasions like birthdays and holidays, which I never answered, but when he heard about my daughter, he sent me a lengthy and hurtful text about me cheating on him, and he never texted me again. I never answered. A few months later, my ex ended his life. This was about 4 months ago. His wife is apparently giving birth anytime now. I was surprised. I was contacted by a solicitor to tell me that I have inherited my ex's estate. He had left everything to me, besides some to his parents' pension and his nephew. I got a letter from him apologizing for what he did and saying that he loved me and wished me and my family happiness, and he wanted to help with that. Now, his wife and parents are very angry and demand that I leave them everything. I don't know. Would I be the a-hole if I kept it because that is what I want actually and what he wanted? 1. Hire a lawyer. 2. Get a lawyer to take care of the details. 3. Don't spend this money, as any and all money from the estate to them should have been taken care of by probate. But they may contest the will. 4. You are not obligated to give any of that money back unless ordered by the court. He had liquidated all his assets before he was gone, sold his house, etc. Everything is liquid assets. It sounds like he knew he'd been cheated on. As others have said, get a lawyer and a paternity test before you make any decisions. If you do decide to give the child any money, do so via a trust. Being that he married a fair partner, they may be in a place with presumptive paternity. Regardless, getting a legal professional to represent her interests is a must. Presumptive paternity doesn't mean OP can't request they prove actual paternity in order to voluntarily gift some of her new money to the kid, especially since he got a vasectomy. Flip the script. They would give you nothing. Up to you if you want to keep it or ration it out. People get really weird about inheritance money and will actually destroy their own families over jealousy and such. If OP decides to ration something out, only through a lawyer. In fact, all communication with the other party should be handled through a lawyer. We'll avoid a lot of nastiness that way. In case anyone reads this and actually tries it, don't be surprised when people refuse to talk to your lawyer. They want to put pressure on you, not your lawyer. I'm just saying, it might seem on Reddit like a mic drop conversation ender, but it is not. In addition to telling them to talk to your lawyer, you also have to have the discipline to never take the bait when they're calling. Don't pick up. Don't text back. Don't email back. They will say anything to get you to reply. Anything. People with this energy have energy for it every goddamn day. That means you have to have that nope energy every day too. You can block them on all socials and all channels, but they'll find other channels. Document all the crazy, but also don't be surprised when a judge doesn't care. Everyone is crazy to them, including you. The court most likely won't put someone in jail for what the other party's doing, even though it's abuse, potential contempt/harassment, etc. They'll just let you suffer it. Sorry it's like this. Been through it a few times. If people refuse to talk to your lawyer and continue to harass you, you can get a restraining order and make sure everything is documented through your lawyer. There are very clear measures to keep you above board, even if they keep sinking lower. If they don't talk through your lawyer, they don't get what they want. They may keep at it, but as long as you toe the line, there's nothing they can do about it. Next story. Am I the a-hole? My wife won't allow my 14-year-old to speak to her half-siblings and my parents, her grandparents. I have been married since 2007 to my second wife. When we met, I had 3 children from a previous marriage who at the time were 9 female and 5-year-old twins, son and daughter. Initially, my wife and kids get along well, but when we had our own daughter together, now 14, her attitude changed dramatically as she played extreme favoritism. In 2017, my wife convinced me to move to another state, and my agreement with her was that I would continue to see my kids on a regular basis. But this turns out to be only a few times per year. Our daughter was prohibited communicating with her half-siblings and my parents, only on my side, but it is permitted with my wife's 2 older children. I have started to put my foot down that I want to take my daughter to see her older half-siblings and get to know her grandparents as they are getting up in years. My wife is insisting that such meetings cannot happen without her. My parents and older children are not ready to just accept my wife back into their lives, as there is a lot of relationship repair that needs to happen first. Am I the a-hole for insisting that my wife stays home and that my daughter should be able to see her family? P.S. My eldest has a wedding planned for the summer, and my wife wants to go, but my eldest doesn't want her there as they haven't even spoken in 11 years, and the relationship was very hostile prior to that. My wife and I just started some couples therapy this week. Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You know exactly why your wife is. But why the heck aren't you prioritizing your children? All of them. Why are you asking your wife's permission for your children to see you and each other? You just passively moved away from your children because your wife wanted to? You've just accepted her treating your kids like crap for 14 years. It only seemed to care enough to think about possibly doing something about it now that it's clearly affecting the kid you have with her too. Your other children are already adults aged 19 to 23, and they got there without you. This is essentially what happened with my dad/stepmom and my step/half-siblings. It's better now, but it still hurts. Parents have to advocate for their kids, and they can't let their partner dictate their relationship with them. Same, though my dad and his new wife are child-free. To go from being the center of a parent's world to being kicked off to the side then completely ignored except for texts and holidays hurts. It feels like the parents wanted a do-over with a new family. I'm honestly surprised OP's kids invited him to the wedding. I definitely wouldn't have. I guess there is some communication between him and them. Everyone sucks here. Your wife is a huge a-hole for alienating your kids and not allowing her child to know her siblings. You are an a-hole for allowing this. You have major damage to repair that is going to take time. If you continue to allow your wife to make rules regarding your children, you will lose those relationships altogether. I hope you're being honest with your couple's therapist and not sugarcoating this. Yeah, he's basically letting her steamroll their whole childhood experience in their family unit. She has extreme control issues, and he doesn't even seem to be fighting back for his own family. This would literally divorce-worthy for me if I had a partner trying to force literally any of this. No offense, but why the hell did you allow this to go on for so long? This is not okay. Your wife is an a-hole. Only thing we can say on this sub, and your kids deserve better than this woman. However, you are also the a-hole for allowing this to continue. No wonder why your wife isn't allowed at the wedding. Everyone sucks here. Because he thought with his man parts, and basically abandoned his kids with his first wife. Honestly, if I was his kid, I wouldn't even talk to him. Last story. Am I the a-hole for publicly announcing that my aunt tried to use me as a child to get back at my mom? I, 19 female, looked just like my late maternal grandmother. She died when my mom was only a child, but she died leaving her husband and oldest daughter deeply traumatized by her behavior and her death. Her younger daughter, my aunt, was too young to remember her or anything about the life she gave her family. My grandmother did a lot of things that left their mark on the family, and my mom especially. To add to everything else, my mom is the one who found her mother at just 8 years old. So she has always carried that around with her. I only found out I looked just like her mother when I was 6, and my aunt told me I was just like her mommy, and she was showing me all these photos she had, and a childhood once really showed a resemblance. My aunt made a big point to tell me every single similarity we had. My mom never ever made me feel like I wasn't loved or like there was something wrong with me. The only reason I knew something was up was she wasn't able to hide the sadness in her eyes when she looked at me. I also did some snooping when I was little and heard her tell my dad about the struggle she had some days to see her mom's face in me. My aunt decided to use me to hurt my mom. When I was 12, she brought me to get my hair dyed behind my mom's back and pushed me to go blonde when I wanted pink hair. Turned out, my mom knew their mother is a blonde. I realized that when I saw my mom's eyes after seeing me with blonde hair. That was the point where I realized what my aunt was doing. There was other stuff before then, like she'd buy me clothes that were similar to what their mother would have worn. My aunt had a bunch of photos of her mother, so she knew the stuff she liked to wear. She gave me a nickname as a little girl, and got me so into it I tried to use it with everyone. It was a nickname my grandmother was given by some people in her life. My mom really hated that name too. I heard her tell Dad later that night. My mom adored my aunts and thought they were super close. So when I did realize what my aunt was doing, I made sure to tell her I was onto her and wouldn't be trusting her anymore. She did attempt to do some more messed up stuff, but eventually I told my dad, and he told my aunt to leave me the heck alone. We didn't see her for years during COVID or after, but then Grandpa's birthday happened just before New Year's, and she approached me and tried to manipulate me into doing the same stuff. Changed my hair and how I dress, etc. I told her I knew what she was doing, and laughed at the idea of it being to hurt Mom. So I lost my temper and made sure everyone heard what she had done when I was a kid, and that she was trying to do it again. My dad and some other people there forced my aunt to leave, but not before she told me I was such a witch for spoiling the party and publicly humiliating her. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. We need to normalize shaming people who try to manipulate people to hurt others. Also, social media is a good way to get the truth out. Cutting horrible people out of one's lives should also be normalized. Aunt's behavior is heartless to put it lightly, and absolutely psychotic to put it honestly. My ex has people like this, and her entire family acted like it didn't happen. If you had a sexual predator in the family, you'd tell everyone so they could not violate children and mess them up for life. Emotional and mental assault. I want to elevate it from abuse to what it truly is. Assault is equally predatory and violating. You're still messing that child up, and if that graphic description makes it real to you, then understand that happened to my children before I was able to finally protect them. Your aunt may have inherited your grandma's mental health issues. You are right to protect yourself and your family by outing her. Shaming these horrible people out of a family and out of the public square needs to be a thing. She is the B and an a-hole. You are protecting the next little girl or boy that predator tried mentally damage. You are a saint. You keep doing you. Props to you and your dad and family for backing you up and protecting the kids and family rather than the family name. Wish my exes had that much class. As a dad who's had to fix his kids, thank you. Not the a-hole. You got your grandmother's looks, but it seems your aunt got her personality. Quite the achievement since she never knew her. Just tell her you were doing what she wanted and giving her a taste of grandma. If she was publicly humiliated by everyone knowing about her cruel little game, then it's probably time she looked in the mirror or went to a therapist for whatever messed up childhood resentment she held against your mom. Or don't bother. She obviously lives for the drama. Go back to ignoring her existence. It will probably annoy her more than any response. Am I the a-hole for catching my sister cheating on her boyfriend and involving myself? This happened months ago and still don't know if I did the right thing or not. My younger sister that's still in high school has been dating this guy we will call Chris. Chris is a smart, charming, good-looking dude, cares a lot, and isn't a douche. I didn't like Chris at first because he was dating her, and I have a hard time opening up to people. But he's a truly cool kid, very kind, gets good grades, plays sports, and was on a good path. He was a good friend as well. Anyways, I come home from work a few hours early, and there is a car sitting in my spot in the driveway. Didn't think much of it, because she always has friends coming over. I walk in the front door to see her with another guy in the living room. I didn't see much since they heard me open the door, and I looked away but I saw just enough to tell what was going on. I walked down the hallway to the bathroom to take a leak. It's away from the living room, and figured that's enough time for them to get dressed. I get done with my business. I walk back to the living room and discover the kid who was there is someone I went to high school with. Our age gaps aren't much. I was only 2 years older than him. This kid was a freaking loser. He gets stoned every day, smokes, gets trash grades, acts like a turd in class and makes teachers cry. Just about the biggest sack of turd you can think of in a high school kid. I asked my sister why. I started going on about how kid is a loser and that she threw Chris away for this little a-hole. Pretty much just talking crap about this bag of trash that's in my house. That little a-hole didn't like I was saying those things and said he wanted to fight me outside. I told him to get the heck out of my house, and he refused. Grabbed him by the collar and dragged him out of the house like a ragdoll and shoved him out of the front door, causing him to fall on his face. He gets back up and leaves in his car. I'd just gotten back from my job school in the military and was away from home for 8 months and was going to the gym frequently. I'm in the reserves, aka part-time military, so I have a civilian full-time job that's only a few minutes away from home. My younger sister is bawling her eyes out. I said she messed up, and I asked her why she did this. No response. I'm already furious at this point, but trying to keep it cool. She didn't want to respond, so I just dropped it and went to go to work on my truck. Parents got home a few hours. Didn't tell them about it. They still didn't know. The rest of the entire day I was debating on telling Chris since I was pretty sure my sister didn't want to. Part of me wanted to take my family's side, but I felt like that wasn't the right thing to do. I called Chris that night and told him what was up. He sounded very upset and said it would just break things off with my sister, which was understandable. My relationship with my sister still hasn't healed. I've maybe seen her 4 times in the past few months. Part of it is because I travel for work and work overtime. I don't like how I was involved in this. And if it were up to me, I wish I didn't go home early that day because I do feel bad sometimes. But when I saw what was going on, I put myself in Chris's shoes and what I would have wanted if I were him. Him and I still cool and hang out sometimes. Edit. Yes, I know it sounds weird that I grabbed a high school kid and dragged him out of the house, but we did go to school together, and I had a class with him. He refused to leave the house and wanted to fight. I'm pretty sure he is 18, both are seniors. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Telling Chris was the right thing to do. All the a-hole stuff falls on your sister, sorry to say. I think it's better to rip the band-aid off and move on. Cheaters don't come clean in my experience. It just gets more messy. That opportunity you give them to have a sudden turnaround in personal integrity, they instead use to weasel parents and others on side to pressure you into silence. Or they come up with some twisted half-truths and gaslight the person being cheated on. The person being cheated on is being kept in the dark, and others are being made to feel an accomplice to it. Not the a-hole. If my significant other was cheating, I'd want to know ASAP, so I could break up immediately. Cheating and lying about it for a long time will hurt way worse when they find out it's been going on and they've been lied to forever. Now instead of wasting his life and time, he can now quit wasting his time with a cheater and start to move on and find a real girl who won't betray him. If she comes clean, good. Now she has to be a big girl and take accountability for her stupid actions. If she doesn't, then tell the kid herself and give her no other choice but to face it head on. Not the a-hole. You always tell someone when they've been cheated on. It's a matter of life and death in some cases, and basic decency always. Wish my friends had this mentality when my ex-wife was running around town. I've gotten to the point where I am amicable with my ex and co-parent well, but those friends that knew and never told me, well, those friendships never healed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take down a congratulatory Facebook post for one of my daughters? I, 56 female, have twin daughters Ava and Susie, 25, with my husband, 57 male. Ava and Susie have always been complete opposites, but they were best friends up until just before they both moved away for college. Ava got into one of the best schools in the country and moved across the country for it. And Susie got into a good school but not as great as the one Ava got into, and this is where the problems began. Susie started making digs at Ava and making jokes that the college only accepted her for diversity reasons. Ava wouldn't let Susie say mean things about her without fighting back, so it was basically an entire summer of fighting and hostility in our household, no matter what my husband and I did to try to solve it. Susie's situation at college wasn't great. She got into hard drugs in college and was expelled in her second year for doing them on campus. She had to move back home and go to rehab. Rehab failed a lot of times, but wouldn't give up on her. Ava would come back home several times a year to come see and support her sister. We were doing whatever we could to help Susie get her life back on track. Last year was the first time Susie's rehab actually worked for months, after she finished the treatment and she even got a part-time job. Things were and still looking promising. She hasn't gone back to using and she's now working 30-ish hours a week. She's exercising and writing poetry and painting. We're so incredibly proud of her. Ava graduated with an undergraduate and a master's degree. My husband and I flew into her city for both graduations. Susie couldn't come for Ava's master's graduation because she said she couldn't take time off work. She hasn't taken time off work the entire year, so I'm kind of doubtful that she would be denied time off, but I didn't push the issue. I figured she just didn't want to go. Anyway, my husband and I went and we took loads of pictures, some of which I posted on Facebook. A lot of my friends and family were commenting on the post congratulating Ava and wishing her well. I got a call from Susie like 30 minutes after I posted it, asking if I can delete it. I asked her why, and she couldn't give me a reason at first. I said I'm not deleting it without a good reason, since all I did was post about Ava's graduation. She said if I keep posting about Ava's achievements and none of hers, she's going to look like a failure to everyone, and they're all going to wonder why Ava's done so well in life and she hasn't. I said I don't post her because she doesn't ever want me to. I once wanted to post the very first big canvas she painted onto Facebook, and she asked me not to because she thinks it's not something good enough to post or be proud of, in comparison in what other people her age were achieving. I always try and assure her that we are proud of her, and how far she has come is something she should also be proud of herself for. But she still doesn't ever want me to post anything about her on Facebook, so I don't. I told Susie that her feelings are valid, but Ava deserves to be celebrated, and that maybe she can talk about her feelings about this whole thing with her therapist and find a way to cope, because living like this isn't fair to either of them. I said I want to post about her achievements too, and how proud I am of her, but she won't let me, and that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it for Ava either. I was going to ask Ava whether she minds if I take it down, but honestly, I think Susie needs to deal with this problem with her therapist, instead of forbidding us to celebrate Ava on social media. I don't want her to continue living like this, and I don't think me conceding this time will be helpful to either of my daughters in the long run. Susie said it shouldn't be this hard for me to do something so minor that will make her feel better. I don't know if I'm being completely awful or if I have it right. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did nothing wrong. Susie can't have it both ways. She can't tell you that she doesn't want you to post things about her, and then wonder if not posting things will make her look like a screw-up. Taking the pictures down would not make Susie feel better. Her unhappiness is far deeper and self-related. This is so important. Susie is externalizing her pain. She's projecting it onto you and something you did, rather than accepting that it's about her and how she feels about herself and her life. Minimizing Ava's accomplishments to make Susie feel better is not a good solution. Making someone else look smaller so you can feel bigger is never the right answer. Not the a-hole. Ava's accomplishments deserve to be celebrated. Don't take that post down. When you get home, remind Susie that you have tried in the past to post work you were proud of and she told you not to. Find something to put up of Susie's accomplishments soon. Maybe a general "so proud of my daughter Susie in the creative path she's pursuing" and run it by her. Reminding her again that you can't get upset that you only post about one daughter, while actively preventing you from posting about her. Also, I would bet all Susie's troubles have taken a lot of attention off of Ava and used up a significant part of her parents' lives, finances, and energy. Don't you dare let Susie bully you into not celebrating Ava. Well said, it is Ava's time to shine, with all the hard work she has done to graduate. Susie does not get to tell the parents how to celebrate the other daughter. Susie had a choice of her life decisions. Not the a-hole. You are completely right. She needs to work out how to cope with her therapist. This seems like it all started because she couldn't cope with her sister have more success. Instead of focusing on herself and what she needs to feel fulfilled, she focused on her sister, and it made her miserable. Her sobriety is still relatively new. She's acting like a dry drunk. That's someone who isn't using, but still is exhibiting the toxic behaviors that lead to using. She's embarrassed about not being more successful, but instead of facing those feelings, she wants her sister to suffer. She doesn't want her sister to be happy or proud, and she doesn't want anyone supporting or congratulating her. She sees her sister's successes as her own failures. As long as she is in this mindset, she won't get better. Also, she won't let you celebrate her for a few reasons. One is because she doesn't feel good enough to be celebrated. But second, she's afraid of what will happen if she doesn't live up to praise or she relapses. Again, these are things she has to work through with a therapist. She won't be happy until she starts living her life for herself and focusing on her own goals and not worrying about where she is in comparison. You handled it as well as anyone could have. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to join family Christmas because my mom invited my beautiful sister? I, 27 male, was S8 as a child for years by my stepfather's son, who lived with my mom and stepfather at a time. A few years later, after talking to my little sister, 26 female, I found out that he had been essaying her as well at the same time. It wasn't until the school got involved and called DHS when they noticed the signs of abuse. Bedwetting, excessive scratching, inappropriate behavior with adults. Even after being sat down with a social worker in a small room with a two-way mirror, did we finally have to tell our mom and stepdad? But there was no point. My stepfather gaslit us, saying it never happened and we were making it up. My mother, not saying anything nor defending us, ignored the situation. Until about 2 years ago, when she admitted to my little sister, 24 at a time, in casual conversation, that she believed us the entire time, yet still never said anything. It's destroyed our mental health for years, on top of the verbal abuse from our stepfather and continued ignorance of our mom. My stepfather also has a daughter, close to her brother's age. She, of course, believed we were lying trying to cause drama in the family, since we were the kids intruding her family. We didn't communicate much with her and she soon became estranged from the entire family. My stepfather continued to be a horrible person. Years later, my mom is separated from him, even living in different homes and states for years. Recently, she's been spending time with him again, despite my sisters and I being against him in our lives again. But we choose to deal because it was either see our mom and deal with our stepdad or cut her off, and we weren't ready for that step. He continues to come to family events because he hopes to get remarried with our mom, despite his hatred for us. Christmas is coming and my mom decided to get a cabin for the weekend for the family, inviting my 3 sisters and their husbands, my father and his girlfriend. Then come to find out, our mom invited my stepfather's daughter, who we haven't talked to in over 10 years. My little sister is the one who found out, and she messaged my mom personally and older sister saying she isn't going. She said she can't handle being around him or his family anymore, and it would be better for her mental health to stay home. I of course agreed with her, saying I was refusing to go as well, for the same reason. My mom's only response was that she understands we have to prioritize our mental health, but said she'll see us after Christmas to drop off our cards. My little sister was very distraught and frustrated that my mom was choosing our stepdad and our abusers over her own kids. I'm used to it, since our family is just overall awful. But they always at least prioritized her feelings since she moved away after high school and barely sees them as is. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to Christmas and stay by her side? Now for the top comments before the mini update. Not the a-hole, but your mom is. That is distasteful and dismissive of your hurt. Maybe you should sit this one out and let her feel your pain. I hate this kind of woman. Is the need of have a man in your life so great that sacrificing your kids seems sensible? Is the man so great that the suffering of your kids is not enough? OP, your mother is a crap stain, and you are not the a-hole. She's not going to. She is so self-centered that the mental health of her kids is invisible. Because if she's happy, why are they not? If she's like my mother-in-law, and she is, my mother-in-law is a self-centered witch. She's gonna cry a river because this was in the past. Why you cannot forgive and forget? We are family. OP, please go no contact. Your health is more important than everything else. Not the a-hole. He has some nerve messaging you after having refused to believe you were assaulted. Oh, he definitely believed them. He just didn't care about children being victimized. Exactly. I'm so fed up with hearing parents throw the "done so much for you" excuse in their kids' face. Giving your children a roof over their heads, feeding and clothing them is the bare minimum of being a parent. If you think that deserves a medal, then you have some serious issues. If the mom didn't know the abuse was happening, even with all the warning signs, that's one thing. But to stay with a man who calls your children liars and is abusive to them doesn't make you a good mom. Just because they had a roof over their heads, if it wasn't a safe place for them, you are failing them. Why would the kids want to be around their abuser's family, who treated them so poorly and called them liars? That's completely normal, and mom and stepdad had no right to complain about it. Mini update. My stepfather messaged us both today, calling us selfish, and that our mom has done so much for us and we're being hateful for refusing to go. That our mom is upset about the situation. We both didn't respond and blocked him. But we haven't heard from anyone else in the family, other than they don't want to get involved.